With SNK unofficially confirming the release of KOF 15 next year, I thought it was the perfect time to make a list about the characters we want to see make a comeback in the upcoming installment. Although KOF 14 had a huge roster with its 58 characters, including DLCs, many beloved figures were not included, which actually tells how much this series is loaded with super charismatic characters. Considering the ending of KOF 14, some of the entries have a huge chance to be present in the next game, while others are included for their popularity among the fans. Before we start, there are two rules for this list to keep in mind. First, as mentioned in the title, the character must not be present in 14, and secondly, he or she must be featured at least once in a previous KOF game. So characters who have only been in other SNK games don't count. Otherwise, this list would include dozens of entries. So without further ado, here's the top 10 characters we want to see them back in KOF 15. One of the most criticized aspects of the Tales of Ash saga is the controversial artistic design that was chosen for many of its fighters. To put it mildly, many fans did not like the effeminate look of some of its new characters. However, our first entry of this list is not one of them, even though he was introduced in 2003. Shenmue is your stereotypical manly dude that lives to fight and enjoys facing strong opponents. That was his only reason to enter the KOF, and you know what? That's totally fine. Not everybody needs to be an heir of a secret clan or an advanced human weapon. The simplicity of Shenmue's motivations is what makes him likable in my opinion. With the superhuman strength in his fists, Shen is a pure brawler who fights with his own devastating boxing style, and because of his street fighting prowess, he was feared by all in the dark alleys of Shanghai. Despite his violent attitude, Shen treasures loyalty and friendship and does not hold grudges should he wins a fight. I would say his personality is a mix between Yamazaki's and Ralph's, inheriting the thrill for combat from the former and the explosive fists and behavior from the latter. And for that, Shenmue is more than worthy of a spot in KOF 15. Introduced in 1999 as Kim's childhood friend and rival, Junhoon is a taekwondo master who was absent from KOF games since 2003. What's interesting about Jun is that he almost has two personas. He is calm and focused during combat, but a total immature J-pop fanboy during his free time. He idealizes Athena and considers himself her biggest fan. He would do anything to have an autograph from her. The main reason why I added him to this list is because of his unique fighting style. I don't think that there is another character that plays similar to Jun. Unlike Kim, he never uses his fists and relies only on his kicks. He's famous for having 3 different fighting stances, which make him a versatile fighter that can surprise his adversary with many different ways. Admittedly, Jun's fighting style is kind of tricky to master, but in the hands of a skilled player, he is a total nightmare. Just look at this. When K- was introduced to KOF as the main protagonist of the Nest saga, he needed to have a rival. But before Kula could fill this spot, there was another fighter who had every reason to hate the Dark Hero. Grizzle was designed to be the ultimate Kyo clone and superior to K- in every shape and form. He was a high-ranked agent of Nest thanks to his unconditional loyalty and amazing fighting abilities. However, his bright career ended the day K- defeated him. Not only his clone's project was terminated, he learned that his own life was a lie when he discovered that he was just a clone of K-. Thanks to Versus win quote against K, we know that Grizzle was among the souls contained in the demon's body, meaning that there is a high probability that he may return in the next game now that Verse is destroyed. If he does return, and unless he is greatly nerfed, Grizzle would be perfect as a mid or a sub-boss. K- and Whip should be prepared to face his wrath. He would certainly try to have his vengeance against them, one for ruining his project and the other for killing him. Twice. This entry is a weird one, since we're talking about a character that was never really playable before. For the 7th position, I wanted to include a member of the Flying Brigands clan, and I long hesitated between Lin and Dulong, but then I decided to choose a much more interesting assassin. Ron was the leader of the Flying Brigands who went rogue and joined Nests. It was believed that the Syndicate manipulated him to achieve their goals, but in reality, it was the other way around. What's interesting about Ron is that he has his own side story, which remains to be resolved. It revolves around the dragon spirit that Kinsu and Bao possess, a power so formidable that Nest's entire capabilities was nothing compared to it, according to Ron himself. He seeks to obtain the said power for his own objective, which is being able to manipulate the dead. Ron was only featured as a striker for Original Zero, and thus we don't know much about his fighting style, but we know that he is capable of teleporting by turning his body into dust and recomposing it somewhere else. He also seems capable of removing the soul of his opponent for a short period of time. Plus, he looks like a total badass, and has poison as blood type. I'll be honest with you, the chances that this character would make a return in KOF 15 are very low. Even though K49 is super popular among the fans, the fact is SNK hates him. He was introduced to the series in 2001. His design is a complete ripoff of Akira's main villain Tetsuo. Both characters even share the same voice actor. Despite all this, I do like him, especially his fighting stance. He looks like a human bomb that is about to blow up with the slightest provocation. K49 is very violent and short-tempered. He passionately hates K-Dash, which makes him another great rival. The last time he was seen, he was running away from Ness with Angel while his partner came back in 14. K49 whereabouts are still unknown. One of his interesting abilities, beside his polymorphic arm that can turn into a drill or a fleshy tentacle, K49 has some shape-shifting powers, meaning SNK can totally redesign his look and it would still make sense for his character. So all hopes to see K49 in the future are not lost after all. The Grandmaster of the Kyokugen-ryu Karate and the Patriarch of the Sakazaki family, Takuma was one of the biggest absences in KOF 14. As the father of Ryo and Yuri, in addition of being their instructor, he shares many moves and techniques with his pupils. However, Takuma is the only character to completely master their martial discipline, and therefore only him can execute its most difficult moves. Since 94, Takuma was a top tier character in every entry he was in, regardless what form he used, because yes, Takuma has more than one form. Last time we saw him, it was in 13, where he was again a strong fighter. Keep in mind that this guy is 50 years old. What would be even more awesome is to include his other persona, Mr. Karate. Not only his attitude changes and becomes more serious and determined, Mr. Karate's techniques are far deadlier too, which is saying a lot considering how much Takuma's regular attacks are already fearsome. Of course Shingo has to be included in this list. I mean, he was a staple in the series since his debut in 97 and was featured in every single installment since then, be it a canon or a dream match. He even was a mid-boss in 98. His first absence from KOF was in 13, which is understandable considering his team's ending in the previous game when he was badly wounded by Iori and sent to the hospital. But I was disappointed to not see him in 14. He was absent even in the DLC's characters, and there is no reason for that. He surely must have been fully healed from his injuries by now. Shingo is more than a simple comic foil for Kyo. He is actually strong and hits incredibly hard. His fighting style is based on mimicking Kyo's moves, minus the flames and the finesse. But still, he can do some serious harm, especially with his iconic Shingo kick and its critical damage. Besides, he still has a goal to achieve, which is creating his own flames like Kyo. Although it is highly unlikely that he can ever do it, Shingo remains optimistic that through hard work, someday he would become a flame user as well. Just like I stated in her story video, Shizuru is a very important figure of the King of Fighters lore. However, SNK seems to add her as a playable character only in episodes whose story is related to Orochi, which is kind of unfair. Kyo and Iori are relevant in every chapter. K- and Kula continue to be present even after the Ness saga, so why Shizuru is the only one who's left behind? Plus, her story background is not the only thing important about her. Her moves and techniques are very strong and unique. Most fans enjoy playing as her and at the same time hate facing her as an opponent, for she can be a real challenge. Her mirror copies are fast, they can take anybody by surprise and can be a real pain to deal with. And spamming fireballs against her won't work, Shizuru would just send them back at them. I really wish if Shizuru could team up with Kyo and Iori and form an official Secret Treasures team from the get-go. Shingo could fill Kyo's place in Team Japan, just like how he did before. As for Mature and Vice, they would have the perfect reason to team up with the original evil boss of KOF. Rugal is undeniably one of the most iconic villains made by SNK, and also one of the hardest to beat regardless of the installment. Not only he mastered all fighting styles, Rugal can copy any technique after seeing it just once. In fact, his Rippuken and Kaiser Wave are directly stolen from Geese and his half-brother Krauser. But Rugal can also come up with his own moves. The most famous one is surely his iconic, overpowered, super annoying If you ever felt this move was cheap, well, it's because it is. After all, the developer stated that Rugal was supposed to be, and I quote, the cheapest bastard ever. As much as I like Adelheid, I believe that the father has much more charisma and implication with the KOF story overall. He is one of the characters that were resurrected after Versus destruction, which also makes him a likely candidate for KOF 15. It would be very interesting to see his interactions with Vice and Mature, his former secretaries, now that he knows that they were just spying on him for Genets. Genocide, kata! Versus when quote against the two women shows Regal offering them to become his secretaries again, though something tells me he was not really honest. Before unveiling the number one spot, here's some honorable mentions. If Rugal is present in the next game, then Saisho would have the perfect chance to get his revenge against the man who defeated him and made him fight his own son. Also, Vice seems to immensely hate the Kusanagi patriarch, which is strange. He's the one who should hate her for brainwashing him. Gato is another character whose storyline is not finished yet. This ruthless martial artist is in a quest for revenge against his father for killing his mother. His personality is a lot like Iori's. He's rude to everyone, but at the same time, he's not a villain either. Well, not entirely. We never got to know what happened to Kyo's shadow copy, the Kusanagi. Since his defeat by K-Dash's team in 2003, he totally vanished. No one actually knows how Shizuru's shadow copies work or if they have a lifespan, but if the Kusanagi is still alive, I sure want to see him again in 15. Not only an enraged version of Kyo looks cool, but we'll have the chance to use his movesets from KOF 95, and that's awesome. I have to admit, I kind of cheated here, since we're not talking about one fighter, but a whole team. The characters we want to see the most in the King of Fighter 15s are the American Sports nah, just kidding. The New Faces team, aka the Orochi team, the most likable villains of the series, with one of the best themes, two of the best teams actually. Chris, Shermie and Yashiro were present in just one canon entry, KOF 97, but they were so good that they were added in pretty much every Dream Match game since then. Unarguably, their popularity reached its top in 98. It's not sure if Verse had their suits as well, but if Mature and Vice, who are in a lower position within the Hakisho hierarchy, could come back to life, then it is totally possible that these three are already alive as well. One of the reasons behind their popularity is their personalities. In their regular forms, they are a rock band with a super chill attitude, which greatly contrasts with their other personas as Heavenly Kings. But the attitude switch is not the only change that occurred to them. Unlike Iori and Leona, who only got a speed and damage boost under the influence of Orochi, Yashiro's team completely changed their fighting style. As Heavenly Kings, they activate their elemental powers. Chris becomes a Purple Flames user, Shermie manipulates lightning, and Yashiro gains control over the earth element. It's almost as if having 6 characters instead of 3, which makes this list a top 15 I guess, but who cares? I'd love to know who is the character you want to see the most in KOF 15, as I am aware that there are still many more colorful figures who I haven't mentioned. Also, if you want to see more KOF related top 10s, please do tell in the comment section. If you too think that the King of Fighters series or SNK games in general are underrated and deserve more respect and recognition, then join our community by subscribing to the channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Thanks for watching.